I used to believe that as long as I was getting things done, I was getting somewhere. If I was staying busy, improving myself, and always working towards something, it felt like I was on the right path, like I was actually moving forward. But at some point I started to realize that I was running in circles. Sure, I got a lot done, but no matter what I achieved, there was always something waiting for me on the other side. That constant feeling that I should be doing something or anything never went away. Even when I had time to rest, I couldn't actually relax. Sitting still felt wrong, like I was wasting time, I was falling behind. Eventually, I wasn't just tired from working, I was exhausted from always feeling like I should be working. So I decided to let go, to see what happens when you step away from the never-ending hustle, when you stop trying to keep up, do nothing and just exist. But of course that wasn't easy, because for years I had trained myself to believe that I needed to stay productive or die trying, that the key to happiness was never slowing down, until I started questioning what productivity even meant. In my early 20s, I was waking up early, building skills and running different online businesses, and most people would call that productivity, getting things done, making progress, achieving more. But the way we measure productivity is kind of strange. If you're hustling for a week, let's say, but you're so exhausted afterward that you need another week to recover, were you actually productive? Or if you work hard for 3 years but then realize that you were focusing on the wrong thing and now you need a full year to refocus and start over, do those 3 years still count as productive, or were they wasted? It's so hard to say, and I think that that is the problem. We treat productivity like it's something super simple. More output means more success. But in reality, it's completely tied to time and how you perceive things in the first place. What looks productive in the short term might actually slow you down in the long run. And what seems like a waste of time right now, like for example doing nothing for a while, might be the best decision that you ever made. I used to be trying so freaking hard. This never-ending hustle very much extended to my self-care journey as well. Like I talked about in my last video, I had simply shifted from productive work to productive self-care. The activity was different, but the mindset and approach were exactly the same. And the worst part was that I felt like if I loosened my grip even a little, I would lose everything that I had built. Like slowing down in my self-care journey or self-improvement journey meant that my mental health would come crumbling down. If I skipped journaling, I would lose mental clarity. If I didn't meditate, immediately I would feel overwhelmed. If I didn't follow all my routines, I would just personally fall apart. So yeah, eventually I started feeling exhausted from all these activities too. I guess I kept going so long because of the fear of doing nothing. Slowing down, doing nothing, relaxing, sounds simple, but it can feel almost impossible these days. It's like we have been trained to believe that stillness is a problem, that free time is something we need to always fill. And I definitely felt that. If I had an empty moment, I would reach for my phone, open my laptop, or think of something that I could or should improve. And honestly, I still do this sometimes. It's not like I have found some perfect final solution to suddenly feel comfortable with stillness and with every moment, because when you stop, you are forced to confront that feeling of restlessness that you might not be used to, that urge to fill the space, to find a distraction. We have distanced ourselves so much from boredom that we barely know what it feels like anymore. There's always something to consume, something to check, something to work on. And I think that that is what makes hustle culture so addictive. It's not just about the money or success. It's about the dopamine hit of making progress, the feeling that you are winning just by staying busy. And our egos love that. Even when we know logically that rest is important, there's still this thought in the back of our minds. Other people aren't stopping. They are working, they are creating, they are achieving. And if we slow down while everyone else keeps going, what does that mean for us? Are we falling behind, missing out, wasting our potential? But maybe the real fear isn't actually in stopping. maybe the real fear is realizing that you never had to run in the first place. Rethinking value and contribution. In one previous video, I talked about finding your own path, even if it's not the traditional one. And I got a comment that not all of us can roam the planet with a backpack and a blog about it. Some of us have to be doctors, teachers, lawyers, government employees, because without them, our society just wouldn't function. And I agree with that. We do need all these professionals. We need people in essential jobs, people who keep things running, people who care about their work. But I also believe that a society functions best when people actually enjoy what they do and feel like what they do makes sense for them and has a meaning. Because what we don't need is more people who feel trapped in their jobs, who wake up every morning feeling anxious about the day ahead, who are burned out and exhausted. And beyond that, how do we even define what contributing to society means? The other day I heard about this guy who has been unemployed for most of his adult life, not because he's lazy, but because he finds traditional jobs incredibly difficult. So instead he spends his time taking care of kids, teaching them how to play instruments, how to paint, how to explore their creativity while their parents are at work. He probably earns very little, and most people would see him as someone who doesn't really contribute that much, is just exploiting our systems. So in a world that measures worth by productivity and money, he's invisible, maybe even seen as a burden. But is what he does really worthless? If we look at the history of humans, this is exactly what we did for thousands of years. People weren't judged solely by how much they earned or how much they got done individually. Value was found in the roles people played in their own communities. Some provided food, some told stories, some taught things. All those things mattered. And who's to say the impact this guy makes isn't just as big, if not bigger, than a more traditional high-paying career, like working for some successful clothing brand selling their products and making big commissions? What if one of the kids he teaches goes on to create something incredible? What if his presence in their lives shapes the way they see the world? So in that, I think it's about making sure that whatever path you take, you are not sacrificing your well-being just to fit in a system that may not actually work for you. Because not all contributions are immediate or obvious. Some take years or even decades to be seen, but that doesn't make them any less valuable. What if you are already living the best part? Imagine this, it is 20 years from now. You have everything you once dreamed of. The perfect home, financial security, maybe even $1 million sitting in your bank account. You have worked hard, planned well, and now here you are. But then you are given a choice. You can stay in this future version of your life, or you can go back 20 years, back to today, exactly where you are right now. Which one would you choose? I don't know about you, but I would go back, because even with everything I would have gained, there's something about living these years, experiencing every moment, every challenge, every unexpected turn, instead of skipping straight to the destination, straight to the end, where I have so-called made it. The journey itself has a lot of value. The people you meet, the things you learn, the person you become along the way. That's what makes life meaningful, at least in my opinion. And I think that the realization is very important, because it shifts the way you see time, how you see your life right now. It makes you realize that being here right now is already incredibly valuable. That this phase of life, whatever it looks like, isn't just something to push through on the way to something better. It's something to be lived fully. And that's the part that we tend to forget. We get so focused on where we are going that we stop paying attention to where we are. We convince ourselves that today is just a stepping stone, something to endure until we finally reach the version of life we have been working toward. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't have big ambitions or big goals. I really think that goals give life direction. They give us something to build towards. But if we are constantly living for the future, we are missing the point, because this moment right now is just as real as the future we are striving for, or I think in many ways actually way more real. And if we don't learn to appreciate where we are now, if we don't let ourselves slow down and actually live the life we have, then what exactly are we working so hard for? What if this is already the best part? So when you stop treating life like a race, you start to wonder what happens when you just exist. And I don't mean this in a reckless way, like quitting everything and ignoring all your responsibilities. But what if you just minimized as much as possible for a while, worked less, took a step back, created space instead of filling every moment with something useful? A gap year, a sabbatical, or even just a few days with no plans at all. No checklist, no expectations, just letting life happen. When I started doing that, something very interesting happened. I began to understand my life path better, without the constant noise of productivity, the voice that is in my head telling that I should be always doing more. I could actually hear what I wanted or what I kind of should do. I could see what I truly cared about, and I started noticing which things I was doing because I actually genuinely wanted to do them, and which things I was doing just because they seemed impressive or felt like I should be doing. I stopped seeing life as something to win. I started seeing it as something to experience. And that subtle mindset shift changed everything. Because sometimes the most valuable moments aren't the ones where you are actually achieving something or working toward a goal. They aren't even the ones where you are relaxing with some purpose, like you're reading a book or meditating or exercising. Sometimes they are the moments where you are not doing anything at all, for no reason at all. Just sitting in stillness, watching the sky, taking a slow walk with nowhere to be or go. Death, regret, and what actually matters. Lately I've been thinking about death quite a lot. My grandma passed away recently, and visiting her every week in her last months made me reflect on my own life a lot. If I died today, would I be happy with how I lived? What would I regret? At the end of her life, she never talked about achievements, milestones, or missed opportunities. Instead, she enjoyed the smallest joys. One of the last things that we did together was me reading to her. She didn't care about finishing the chapters or even following the exact words that I was saying. She just liked the moment itself. Someone there next to her bed, just existing. So now when I ask myself what I would regret, it's not about whether I worked hard enough or achieved enough. It's whether I was really there for the things that mattered, whether I slowed down enough to appreciate life while it was happening. Because when the end comes, the only thing most of us wish for is more time, not to achieve, but to simply be. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to stay kind and meaningful in your own beautiful journey. I feel like this bird is sending me some messages right now.